Hi everybody, Brother Zygos here. If there is anybody out there, hopefully somebody. Just wanted to do a little video on the phenomenon of chemtrails and the reality of it in our modern society, and how it manipulates our weather, our bodies, and really our energy. And it's really something we can't avoid. So really, I mean, let's first of all, I wanted to say that it's kind of disturbing to me that people deny its existence. They may slowly be waking to the reality, but still just get triggered anytime it gets brought up, and just try to pretend that it doesn't exist. And I can see why they do this, because it's a very tough pill to swallow to realize that all these trails in the sky are not being created by commuter jets. It's not just incidental phenomenon of air traffic, like, you know, the media has been saying for so long. So it's a very difficult thing to deal with, and I had a hard time dealing with it. I just constantly was just looking to the sky in fear and anger and confusion. Why are they doing this? Especially when I was dealing with all the health problems with heavy metal toxicity and all that. And I just was projecting all this fear and anger upwards to this thing I had no control over. I couldn't do anything about. Even though I do feel like there is some form of manifestation, we probably can affect it on some level, but not through fear and anger, only through vibrating at a higher frequency and possibly dispersing these things. You know, look into orgone or orgonite. I think there's a lot to this Wilhelm Reich's technology that is continually being used. The cloud busters, you know, putting up by cell towers. There's probably a lot to that, and I personally have a few pieces of orgonite that I've purchased. Thought about making my own, but haven't done that yet. But yeah, so dealing with the reality is something that so many people don't want to do, and it's just kind of sad to me how the cognitive dissonance that goes on with that, but then with so many other things. I mean, but that's the one I can really just understand is the chemtrails, because it is so right on top of us and so out of our realm of control that it just creates a lot of helplessness feelings inside. So I wanted to just say a little thing about how I came to terms finally, and it really, I stopped focusing on it when my health started getting better and I started really detoxifying from the heavy metals, started eating better, eating a vegan diet, and I stopped projecting all the fear upwards and realizing that we're in a changing world. There are powers in control that don't want to lose that power, and they are doing everything they can to, you know, basically lock down their what they think is their property. So that I mean, there's other things too that I feel like people have a lot of cognitive dissonance over, and I mean, obviously that's like fluoride is one, another one, GMOs are another one. But the chemtrails, I mean, you mention anything, like, people get triggered by it. But the chemtrails in particular are different because we don't even really know exactly what they all are being used for, and we cannot really, at least directly, physically do anything about it. But we can. But the thing about it is, knowing when you come to the terms that it is happening, which most people are not, you then can protect yourself from the toxicity that is coming from them. Like, for instance, today they're spraying. I mean, that video I just took right before I got in my car here. The past few days, been mostly just clear blue skies here in Portland, Oregon, which is kind of a rarity. They spray a lot here, and a lot of it is just right over the city. So maybe a little, if you drive outside the city, sometimes you'll see there won't be spraying. It's directly, in some ways it has to do with weather fronts, but I also think it has to do with areas of higher population, which they're spraying, because there's a lot of I think nanotechnology, heavy metals that they want to get in our bodies and vaccinate us. I mean, there's evidence that they've already been doing vaccinations through the air. So basically what I do is generally in a day when there's a lot of spraying going on and it's really low to the ground. Here in Portland, it stays really, it doesn't, like in other places like Utah where I used to live, they would stay higher up in the atmosphere, whereas in Portland they're like, you're in it, you know, you are like, it's like you can feel it on your skin, you can feel it, you know, in being inhaled into your lungs. So what I do here, generally I try not to do anything too active on a day where it's noticeably spraying. Like I don't run generally. I mean, there are exceptions, but or, you know, I skateboard. I don't, you know, try not to like skateboard too heavily, or, you know, just breathe in too much of this toxic stuff. And then also I will, on a day of heavy spraying, I will usually take a chelator, EDTA, either in the morning or the night, and also zeolite, even though it's harder to come by. Zeolite is a good chelator. Of course, cilantro is a natural one that you can use too that chelates heavy metals. There is a little one you can make in the morning that maybe I'll even make a video, but generally it's pretty easy to make. You just mix citric acid, or no, like vitamin C, MSM, EDTA, and baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, to activate it, and then drink it down, and that'll help your body to move all these heavy metals that are being sprayed in the atmosphere through your body and get rid of them, so that they're not being taken onto your body and being used by the genetically modified organisms, worms in your body, that are going to use them to build their fortresses in your body, basically. Yeah, I'll put a little recipe down, my recipe for my chelator that I've come up with, in the notes below, and I also wanted to talk about, the other thing too is, it rains a lot here, so oftentimes I used to like not really mind the rain that much, and I would, you know, ride my bike around in it, not really even have a rain jacket get soaked. I do not do that anymore. Generally I make sure I have a good rain jacket on, or I just avoid commuting in the rain, because I don't want those metals being soaked into my skin, or what else you might have, like some say it's desiccated human blood in the chemtrails. I'm not sure where that blood has come from, but there's a good chance it might be from giving blood. You know, you really got to think about where this blood, if you go giving blood, and where is it really going? I mean, I've always been skeptical of it, but even more so now. Similarly with organ donation, I personally do not feel it's a good thing to do anymore, because it's this thing that makes people feel good about helping, but then there's evil corporations using your basically genetic material for ill, used back against us, just like they do with our money, our energy, with the wars, and obviously the chemtrails and all that other stuff. So basically, those are things you can do about, so it is very important to realize that they are happening. It's a phenomenon. Accept it, deal with it, meditate on it. We're in a changing world, and the best thing you can do is accept that the phenomenon is happening and realize that knowledge is power, and dealing with this reality will help us to embrace the future without fear and understand that it is part of the whole story. It is part of us moving into a higher octave, and there's just forces that are trying to hold us back. So if we can just rise above those forces, then it's all just learning. That's the Saturnian lesson that's being taught continually during this time. Do we want to embrace the future, or do we want to stay in the past? Do we want to evolve or re-evolve? I personally want to evolve. I don't want to be repeating the same things over and over again, which is why I changed a lot of things in my life, like my eating habits, a lot of my addictions, my fixation with sex and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, it's still a beautiful day. Still, there's a few chemtrails in the sky. I can deal with it. There's sunlight. We got sun. It's breaking through. I'm breaking through. Let's embrace. Let's learn from the past, live in the present, and look to the future for change out of the cycle of fear and bondage, and embrace a reality that is what we manifest of love. And let's do it by understanding that the negative is part of the love. Through the negative of the root chakra, combine it with the positive of the crown chakra, and then we have the vortex of the heart, which creates the battery, which creates the love. So let's do this. And that's just a little thing I wanted to say. And I hope it helps some of you. And peace and love. Take care. Talk to you next time.